G'day folks, I'm Wren, they, them, and today I have a whole bunch of recommendations for the Queer Lit Readathon. Alright, so if you don't know about the Queer Lit Readathon, I will leave all of the links down below, but it is a readathon happening in June for the entire month, and it is focused on reading queer books. My favourite thing ever. So we have a bingo board with a whole bunch of prompts. Like I said, if you want to check it out, go look at the other videos. I'm going to go through some of the prompts and give you 3 recommendations for each of them. Now, I say some because obviously there are a bunch of prompts on this bingo board that are very personalized to you. Things like the choose your own prompt. I can't help you there. I don't know what prompt you've chosen, but for a majority of them, I will give you some recommendations, 3 each, all but one category. I've read all of the books, but I will tell you which category that is when we get to it. I'm gonna try and keep this as short as possible because this is a lot of books. So I'm kind of just gonna be giving you a few like buzzwords around the books, a little bit about what they're about, but nothing too in depth. Let's hope I can stick to that because I'm notorious for waffling. And if you are still stuck for ideas on what to read, if you've read all of these books that I've mentioned, then please comment down below, tell me what prompt you are struggling with, and I will try and get some more recommendations for you. So for the first prompt, we have outside. So my first recommendation for this is The Sea in You. So this is a graphic novel. It is sapphic. We have a mermaid and a human, very Little Mermaid inspired. The mermaid comes to shore to be with the human, but we do have some really good deaf representation in here because the mermaid doesn't speak, so they use sign language a lot, and our main character also uses sign language because one of their parents is deaf. So we have a lot of good like drawings of the sign language, so that was really cool. It's a really great time. I had a good time. Then we have How Not to Summon Your True Love. This is a book I read so many years ago, but it was really fun. It was a really short book. It's got ace representation, which was amazing. I think this is one of the first ace books I ever read. And it was about a guy who like does a kind of silly spell to summon his true love. And this guy pops up and then they have to, there's like some, not like magical police force, but kind of thing happening. So they have to cross many states, go on a little bit of a road trip to sort out an issue that has happened. And they kind of, you know, bond along the way. And then the last one for outside is Still Waters. This is very underhyped, in my opinion. I've read this twice and it sticks with me so much. In this we have a nix, which is a type of dangerous water creature, if you will. And we have a like monster hunter. And this monster hunter is trying to catch the nix because he thinks it's dangerous. And it's set in this small town. So like if you needed that for that, that also works. But it's this small town where a bunch of the residents are other supernatural creatures and they all just try and get along harmoniously. And I love that in a story. That was really cool. The nix in this, oh, it was so interesting. We really got in depth into what this nix does. I wish it was a full-length novel, but for what it is, it was really good. Next up, we have Small Town Queers. So the first for this is going to be Just the Two of Us. And this is a really short story where 2 best friends go to this small town for like a weekend getaway. It's one of the friends' birthdays, so they're going there to celebrate. One of the friends reveals that she's always been in love with the other. And then they have a good old gay time together. It's very cute. I really liked the small town setting of this, and it was just a very, very cozy vibe. Then we have The Heartbreak Handshake. This is a book in a series, but you don't have to read any others in the series. I didn't. And in this, we have a queer autistic main character and a non-binary asexual character. Love that representation so much. Smush all of those together and you have me. So that was very fun. This artist comes back to their hometown and is staying with their mother. The mother's a little bit of a nosy busybody, but she just wants her kid to be happy, and she knows of this handyman. The town kind of really likes this handyman because he's just very sweet. And so she sets the 2 of them up, and they kind of have a bit of an agreement of like fake dating, because the artist just wants their mother off their back for a little while. Handyman is just like, I'm kind of sick of all of the women of this town wanting to set me up with people, so can we just do this to like settle things for a little while? But it was a good time, really cute small town vibes. And then the last one for this is Aftermath. Oh my god, I love this book so much. This is definitely a more emotional book. We have an ex-athlete, I cannot remember what sport he played, but he has really suffered. I think he got into a car crash and he was severely injured, and now he has chronic pain as well as some, I think it was a spinal issue that was happening, and he's really struggling with his recovery. And he meets this guy who's I think he was a single parent, and he was also a like sports physio. They end up in a relationship, but there is a lot of issues going on with our athlete because he has a very fraught relationship with his parents, and that comes into play a lot, really impacts his mental health. So this is definitely a heavier book. It's such a good book. It's really good. It deals with chronic pain so well. It does definitely have those small town vibes. It's just a good time, but be prepared to hurt. Next up, we have short and or sweet. The first one for this is a manga, which you can use for the manga prompt as well. But this is Old Fashioned Cupcake. I'm obsessed with this manga. It's so sweet. Oh my gosh. So in this, we have two colleagues. One is a little bit older. He's like in his late 30s. And then the younger colleague is in their mid-20s. This older guy is really feeling his age, and he's just kind of flat. You know, he's kind of done with everything, but he wants to feel that spark again of life. And this younger colleague kind of helps him with that. So they start going on these, what they call like teenage girl dates. The older guy, one day when he's feeling particularly bad, he sees these teenage girls and they are just like laughing and giggling. They're like taking photos. They're drinking these really like extravagant like drinks and just like they're having fun. And he looks at them and he's like, I wish I could be a teenage girl so that I could have joy and freely express it without anyone thinking that it's weird. So him and his colleague go on these dates where they try the fancy drinks and, you know, they like take an Instagram photo for it. So they have this really sweet relationship. And then of course it develops into a romantic relationship. It's very cute. I'm obsessed with it. This is the first manga I have ever put tabs in because I was just squealing so much about how cute it is. Next up, we have A Banh Mi for Two. This is a YA, but I would say like a much older YA. And it is about this young girl who, her parents immigrated from Vietnam to America before she was born. Her parents never talk about Vietnam at all. Like her mother is so against talking about Vietnam. This girl is determined to see Vietnam for herself. So she is going on this like school trip, but she tells her mum it's somewhere else. She doesn't say that it's actually going to be in Vietnam. And she gets to Vietnam and she's just immersed in the culture and the people, and she's trying to find her mother's family. But all she has is some old photographs, and she actually meets up with this chef, and she actually knows this chef through social media. But this chef has been really struggling lately, especially when it comes to food. But they end up meeting and they end up kind of helping each other. So the chef helps this girl find her family, and this girl helps the chef find joy in food again. And a relationship also happens. It's a beautiful book. I had such fun reading this. It is definitely more focused on these two girls individually as characters, more so than it is about the romance. But there is a very sweet romance in it as well, but it's definitely more of a contemporary, less of a romance. And then the last short and or sweet book is a very short novella, and that's called My Lady's Lover. This is a historical sapphic romance, and it's about this lady and her lady's maid, I guess are the right terms. This lady is in a very abusive marriage, and her lady's maid is in love with her. And eventually the lady's maid kind of makes a move on her employer in a way. Things get a little bit rocky for a little while, but then these women do decide to have a relationship with each other and flee to the countryside. Then we have Australian author. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Exactly As I Am. This is a poetry book by a non-binary Australian author. Oh my god, this is one of my favorite poetry collections of all time. A lot of that is due to the fact that I am also non-binary. I was able to relate with these poems so much, and the poems themselves were really well done and well worded. I think you can get a lot out of this if you are non-binary or if you're not. I think this is a really great way to educate yourself more about the non-binary experience if that's what you want, but it's also just a really good poetry collection. Next up, we have The Friend Scheme. This book is a really fun time. It's YA, and we're following kind of like this mobster's son, and the son doesn't really want to be a part of the mob scene. He ends up being friends with this guy. You know, they end up having a really good friendship, and, you know, feelings happen. There is a lot of like mob stuff happening and this kid trying to get out of that scene. Police are coming down heavy on the mob, and tensions rise. There's a lot of stuff going on that I can't say because a lot of it is spoilery, but that's what sticks most in my mind. But this was a really fun time. It had a cool twist, a few twists actually. The relationship was really good, and the writing was just like really easy to get into. And then the next one will be Nothing to Hide. This is a short story collection, but it's more on the non-fiction side. I think there's like 30 authors, and some of them are artists, some of them are activists, some of them are poets. It's a lot of stories about being trans and non-binary in Australia. And it's told from so many different points of view, like almost like the whole spectrum of humanity is talked about in this book. So that's really cool. There's a lot of stories in here. Some of them are really heavy, so be aware of that. But these stories were amazing, and I had such a good time reading this. It really opened my eyes to a lot of different situations going on in the trans community, and I think it is so worth a read. So next up, we have plus size main character. And for this, the first one, I obviously have to mention Darius the Great is not okay. I am obsessed with this book. It's one of my all-time favorites. And this is about a boy named Darius who is Iranian and American. He's been living in America his whole life, but when he's in America, he feels too Persian. And then him and his family are finally able to take a trip to Iran. When they're there, Darius feels too American because he doesn't speak the language. He doesn't know how to do some like social cues that are very specific to Persians. He doesn't know how to, navigate them. So he's always kind of feeling out of place. He also has depression, and that really impacts him and his family life because his father also has depression, but they butt heads a lot. The representation of depression is the best I have ever seen. In the first book, you only kind of get the hint that Darius is gay. He is kind of coming to terms with it himself. But in the second book, he is comfortable with himself. He is out and proud. But in the first one, it's just kind of alluded to. And it's a beautiful book, and I want everyone in the world to read it several times. Next up, we have It's Been a Pleasure, Noni Blake. I believe this is also an Australian author, but this is about a bisexual woman who's in her mid to late 30s, and she's kind of stuck in a bit of a rut. She ends up quitting her job, selling her house, leaving everything behind, and she goes on a trip. She is determined that on this trip, she's going to find herself and figure out who she is as a person, which I think is such an important step in life that not many people talk about. Because it's once you get to your 30s, you're like, what is life and who am I? And sometimes to do that, you have to kind of scorch earth everything and start again. So that's kind of what Noni Blake is doing. She just wants to find herself while she's abroad. While she's out there, she's like, I'm just going to have sex with as many people as I feel like it and explore things I've never explored before. The word bisexual is used, which is awesome. She does talk about that. I really loved this book. It was very impactful for me, and it was just a good time to see a woman finding herself. And then the last one for this is Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding. This is almost like game show that is happening where you get to plan your wedding. These two women are planning this wedding, and they don't really know each other. It is kind of like fake dating or fake fiancéing, I guess. Throughout this little farce of a TV show. These two women are falling for each other, but there is a lot of complications because obviously this all started from a TV show kind of thing, and you have to sort through, you know, what's for the cameras, what's real, and trying to like merge their two lives together while also having a lot of issues themselves. But this was a really fun time. I really liked the dynamic between Devon and Chris. So it was a very fun time, and also this cover is super cute. So next up is the 2025 releases. Now, I'm not actually going to talk about these because I'm just going to refer you to my video at the beginning of the year that I did where I talked about 25 queer 2025 releases that will be coming out this year. Some of them have already come out, some not, but you have a whole bunch of options there that you can go hopefully find something for. So next up is alliteration. So the first one for this, we have A Little Sip of Sin. Now this is a second book in a series, but it's one of those like romance series where you don't need to read any others in the series because everything's following separate couples. In this world, there are a lot of supernatural creatures. Most of them want to find mates. So what they do is they come to the barista, who I'm pretty sure is Cupid. I don't know if it's been like confirmed, but he very much acts like a Cupid. And it's a good time. I'm very interested in the barista. But in A Little Sip of Sin, we have these two dragons. They want to find a mate. They have come to the barista separately, but the barista is like, these work. He has paired up these two dragons as well as a human female. So it is a throuple. Then it's just about these three testing the waters, if you will. They spend like a week together or a weekend or something, and they have some good old fun. So it's a really fun time, and I really like this series. It's very good. These are really short books as well. Next up, we have The Passing Playbook. This is a YA book, and it is following a trans guy who has just transferred to a new school, and at this school he wants to pass. What that means is that he wants people to see him as a cis male. He's trying hard to do that, and he wants to be a part of the soccer team because he was really good in his old school, but he wasn't able to play on the guys team. But there's some like rivalry happening with one of the other soccer players. That guy has his own issues. It's not anything to do with this guy, but they do end up forming a bit of a friendship. It was a really good book. Very fun. If you're looking for a less traumatic trans book, this one is the one for you. And then the last one for this is going to be The Witch's Wolves. This is surprisingly another throuple, which I didn't realize until right this second. And it's also another monster romance. So in this we have two werewolf males and a female witch. She kind of stumbles upon their cabin one night. They take her in more ways than one. And they all end up, you know, forming a bond with each other. Now, these two male wolves were already in a relationship with each other, but they did feel like something was missing. So then when this woman comes along, they're like, aha, you're the missing piece to our relationship. So this was a really cute one, very short, fun time. So next up we have banned books. So the first one for this is obviously Melissa. How could I not mention Melissa? But this is about a trans girl in middle school. She is not out to anyone, but she really wants to play a female character in an upcoming play that their school is doing. Society being what it is, she does not get that role. You know, she's really struggling with not being able to be herself. And it's such an important story. You get to see a very genuine look into what it means to be trans when you're young and trying to figure that out, as well as figuring out all the other stuff you have to figure out when you're quite young. Next up is a very obvious one, but that is Genderqueer. This is such an amazing graphic memoir. Oh my gosh, I remember when I first read it, I had so many feelings happening inside me because everything was so similar to how I had felt during my life. In this is a memoir, and it is about the author starting from when they're a quite young child and going until they're an adult, and you just see all of these little moments of their gender identity and their gender journey. It's really beautiful. Also, the art is stunning. There are so many panels in that graphic novel that I wish I could like rip out of the book and stick on my walls because they're stunning. So this is a really great story. It does talk about a lot of heavy stuff, so be aware of that. Next one is just going to be a short, quick picture book, and that is And Tango Makes Three. So I remember when this was published, it got so big, and I remember feeling really good about it because I was like, oh my God, there's this thing that's really popular and it's queer. And like little me was just like, oh my God, it's okay. You know, like that's what that book had an effect on me with. And it's beautiful. So it's just about these two male penguins who they love each other. One thing that is missing in their relationship is a child, and that's what they want, but they are unable to do it. But the zookeepers find a baby that the mother is kind of not able to care for, and so they give this baby to these two penguin dads, and then they raise it as their own. And it's very sweet and lovely, and it almost like made me want to cry. It's such a good time. So next up we have the 1990s. Now this is the category that I haven't read these books, but I am desperate to. So I thought I would just give them a shout in case, you might not be aware of them. Do with this information what you will. So the first one is very obviously Rainbow Boys. I say obviously because this book is like a staple in queer culture. It's almost like, you're not queer unless you've read this book. It has that kind of feeling, but obviously not in a gatekeeper kind of way. But it's just one of those like cult classics. I think it's about like 3 queer kids in high school. And next up is the Gilda stories. I've heard about this for years and I'm desperate to read it because it is queer vampires. You don't need to tell me any more than the fact that it's queer vampires, So super looking forward to this one. This is also similarly a queer cult classic kind of thing. So I'm kind of failing at being a queer because I haven't read either of them, but I'm desperate to. And then the last one for this is Margaret and the Mystery of the Missing Bodies. If you wanted this one for alliteration, it's good for that as well. But this is a book set in the 90s. It's about this teenager who is really struggling with an eating disorder, so be aware of that going in. And she goes into hospital where ghosts are there and she has to help them. There's stuff about a secret passage and all of these like almost very like Nancy Drew-esque elements, but it sounds interesting. The mystery element of it sounds really fun. So I'm pretty keen to read this one as well. And next up we have manga. Now, I'm not going to recommend any manga books for this. You can go check out one of my 5 Friday videos where I give you 5 recommendations for queer manga. Again, if you want more, comment down below, I can recommend some. And then the last prompt that I am going to give recommendations for is starts with O. So the first one for this, I'm going to talk about an author, and that is Olivia Waite. She writes sapphic historical romances. At least that's what the first 3 books were. And these women are like intelligent and badass and, not really falling into societal norms of the times that they are set in, but they're written really well and they're really, really great. But I think she's a really great author and I can't wait to read more of her work. So next up we have Owning Your Voice. This is a book I was kindly gifted by the author, so thank you very much for that. And I've been reading it this past week. It's unlike any nonfiction I've ever read because this is talking about voice training, specifically with trans or non-binary people who are often trying to either lower their voice or increase the pitch of their voice kind of thing to more match their gender identity, which is a huge thing and definitely something I have struggled with my whole life. But in this book, it is really going like a deep dive into your voice box. It gets a little bit medical at the very beginning where it's really talking you through how your voice works on a like anatomy scale, The author has been a voice trainer for years and like a singing trainer as well. The rest of the book it does talk a little bit about, singers and what singers have to do to make their voices as strong and powerful as they are, which is like very cool, very impressive. The author clearly knows what they're talking about. And I think resources like this are so heavily important to the queer community because like not everyone can afford voice training. I am so thankful that a book like this exists. And then the last book is Of the Wild. This is such a beautiful little novella. It is about this kind of creature-esque being that protects children. They will take children from the human world into their little forest and they will care for them because they were clearly not cared for in the human world. So it is very much protecting all these children children, and then this adult stumbles into this magical forest one day and this carer is like, what the hell? You're not supposed to be able to do that. And these two adults kind of form a bit of a relationship. There's a lot of different queer identities in this. It's such an interesting book, and I really wish it was longer because there are so many things in there that I want explained. But this is such a healing book and like a sweet family vibe. So I would say if you like TJ Klune books, you would probably like Of the Wild, because they definitely have a similar found family vibe. Anyways, that is going to be it for my recommendations for the Queer Lit Readathon. I hope you were able to find something in this list that you're able to read, or if not, I hope you put a bunch of stuff on your TBR, because all of these books are a good time. But I really, really hope that you will join us for the Queer Lit Readathon. It's going to be great. I'm going to try and be live as much as possible. Please make sure to check out the announcement video, mine as well as Kathy's, and please go check out the Instagram, which again, I'll leave linked down below, because we have a bunch of recommendations on the Instagram page as well. So go check that out, and hopefully you're able to find something for your Queer Lit TBR. But that's going to be it from me. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.